Qwen doesn't really like changing faces, but today she'll have to do it. Hey everyone! In this tutorial, I'll show you a workflow that allows for very precise face swapping while preserving the character's pose. The link to the ready-made workflow will be in the description. You can either download it or follow along with me here. I'll explain all the details and potential pitfalls in depth. As the base image, I'll use this ballroom scene. I generated this image on Flux 2, inspired by a scene from the 1986 movie Labyrinth, where the magical David Bowie plays the bad guy, the Goblin King, who kidnaps the main heroine's one-year-old brother. In the movie, there's a ballroom scene where King Jareth dances with Sarah to the sounds of the beautiful song As the World Falls Down. Such glam rock.
There's such a sad love deep in your eyes, it kind of paled you.
Well, my Jareth isn't quite like that, without those long feathery strands and the cat-like makeup. But overall, the image turned out quite atmospheric. You might notice that my image is done in a digital art style. So, I also brought the girl's image into that style using the basic Flux 2 workflow. I won't go over it since it's already built into ComfyUI and you can easily find it in the templates. That is, before inserting a face into an image with a different style, for example, a realistic one into anime, you need to bring both images to a common denominator. But if both your photos are realistic, you don't need to do any of that. Just jump straight to the workflow. So here's my workflow. Links to all the models are listed here and in the video description. I mentioned at the beginning that Qwen is quite reluctant to swap faces. So, for the swap to go as smoothly as possible, there are 3 main points that the entire workflow relies on, like how ancient people thought the Earth rested on 3 whales. First, cropping and using a blurred mask to avoid tempting the model to keep the original face. Second, using an open pose map to reinforce the character's position and correctly insert the face, matching the base character's head turn. And third, 2 K-samplers instead of the standard one. I borrowed this idea from a user named SoulTuner. And here, in addition to the standard LoRA, 8 steps, I'm using 2 LoRas, next scene and from different angles. From experiments, I noticed that with them, the similarity transfers even better. The 4th LoRA is optional. You can use any of your own. Model Loader. Diffusion Model Loader. I'm using the model in FP8 format. Text Encoder Loader. VA Model Loader. Here, I'm assigning variables to avoid dragging long lines. Entering the variable name. And calling them in different areas of the workflow. This group of nodes loads images and prepares them for further processing. Here we load the base image. Right-click to bring up the mask editor and carefully draw the mask. Only paint over the area you want to change. This is the face we'll be embedding into the base image. Similarly, paint the needed area in the mask editor. The In-Paint Crop Improved node. It prepares images for in-painting or out-painting. It crops the original image strictly around the masked area. Automatically resizes the cropped part to the needed size. Adds padding. Prepares the mask for in-painting. This parameter creates a surrounding zone for better blending. That is, it adds a zone around the selected object based on the parameter value. This allows in-painting only the mask, speeding up the process dozens of times, especially on large images, saving VRAM and giving more accurate results. The model sees less unnecessary stuff. Usually, values from 1.5 to 3 work well. You need to check based on the final result. Here, it outputs the stitcher parameter. This is a special object with coordinates that's later used to insert the result back into the original. Next are 2 more similar nodes that I've collapsed to save space. The second node crops only the original face, so that later in the color match node, we can do color correction. This one crops the reference. These two nodes resize the base image and mask. This is a variable to later restore the full size of the base image. These two nodes work with the mask. The color match node. Its task is to transfer the color palette, color transfer, from the reference image to the target one to make the colors harmonious. This value adjusts the intensity of the transfer. Lower equals softer. There's no universal value here. You need to try different ones. Sometimes good results come from small values, sometimes from large ones. It depends not only on the base face's color, but also on the color palette surrounding that face. For example, I'll set the value to 0.4. The face turned out a bit reddish compared to the neck color. Let me try 0.2. The redness still remains. Switching to 0.7. And changing the method. This method can also give a good result. It's better now. Here, I've ramped up the value to 1.2 and almost matched the color. For comparison, this was the shade of the original girl's face. It's a bit off, but you need to check for harmony. In the end, you can apply fine color correction in Photoshop. DW Pose. Estimator outputs an open pose map for even stronger reinforcement of the correct face position. Moving on to the next block. This is an advanced prompt node. All necessary values are passed here via variables: the base cropped image, reference, and open pose map. The prompt is, fully adapt the face of the person from the second image to match the style of the first image. Precisely replicate the facial features, bone structure, eye shape, nose form, lips, and overall resemblance to the person from the second image. Harmoniously and naturally blend the face from the second shot with the body from the first image. Ensure correct anatomy and natural positioning. Empty negative prompt node. In painting node. And here's the main trick. These values go into the first K-sampler. In the first K-sampler, steps are calculated from 0 to 1. Total steps, 8, since we have a LoRA for 8 steps. Now I'll quickly build what the first K-sampler outputs. See, the image is very rough, unprocessed. It's like how artists first make a rough sketch of a portrait, and then carefully draw in the details. And the second K-sampler, with a lowered CFG value, processes the image from the second to the 8th step, or whatever final step, depending on how many steps you set and what LoRA you're using. Maybe you have a LoRA for 4 steps. And it receives data from an additional prompt, a very simple one. But the same reference image is passed here twice to enhance the similarity. And the open pose map. Here, the final face is very high quality and detailed. So here's what we got from the K-sampler. And this node restores the previous image size. If you liked this video, give it a like and subscribe to the channel.